Hi, I'm Seraflor, and welcome to yet another video. Amphoreus is out now, and I just finished the story, and I would like to share my thoughts on it. This will be completely spoiler-free, so don't worry. So, while I liked Penacony, I acknowledge that the way the story was told was not the best. There were many issues plaguing the storytelling of Penacony. Its obtuse narrative bogged down by technobabble and a cast that was more than happy to be as verbose as possible, while the pacing of the story was slower than the way I talk. But how about Amphoreus? Did it improve on these? Well, yes and no. Let's start on what it did improve on, the technical jargon. Now, to be clear, we did face a lot of technical jargon. However, it made sense because Amphoreus is not only a world unfamiliar to the player, but it is also a world unfamiliar to the cosmology of Honkai Star Rail. So every new piece of terminology we learned in Amphoreus had to do with Amphoreus. And these terms were new experiences to the Trailblazer and Dan Heng. This also leads into the verbosity of character dialogue. Out of the cast, I will say Aglaya is the only character I'd say is verbose. But once again, it makes sense why she is the way she is. From her design, you can get a clear idea that she's different from the other Chrysios heirs, and through our interactions, it's immediately apparent. Phynon is very direct, Maide is tough and regal, Caceres is mysterious, and Tribby is whimsical and more mature than she lets on. None of the cast speaks in riddles or lead you around the way the Penacony cast has. So far, at least. Now, as for the story pacing, it still sucks. There's no getting around it. It isn't as bad as Penacony when you're in a 30-minute cutscene about Charmony doves, but the pacing still suffers in a different way. And that is from the gameplay, surprisingly. There are long stretches of gameplay where you're forced to do puzzle after puzzle after puzzle, and the puzzles already aren't interesting or fun to solve as is. But making us do multiple of these puzzles in succession is exhausting. It's a total hype killer. I feel bad for the people who binged Amphoreus, because I hear people are very upset by the puzzle overload. Ignoring the puzzles, we do get more pre-rendered cutscenes in comparison to 2.0, which is always a plus. However, we still get inundated with the dull, static cutscenes where characters do some basic emotes at each other that we can't skip or fast forward through like we can in other games like Final Fantasy XIV and Persona 5. However, they didn't feel as badly paced as the 2.2 Penacony scenes are. There's still one more problem, and that is the use of black screens with dialogue to deliver information. I get that it's to save money and cut development costs, but come on. This is Hoyoverse. They make an infinite amount of money, and they still can't animate us going through a gate or touching foreheads? Be for real here. This is embarrassing. As for the Amphoreus story itself, I liked it. It reminds me a lot of the old PlayStation 1 and 2 JRPGs I grew up playing. However, instead of starting at the beginning of the narrative, it feels more like we landed in the middle of the story. Our protagonist, Phynon, has already gone through the prologue in Chapter 1 of his story. The Trailblazer and Dan Heng stumbled into his Chapter 2, so to speak. The story does a proper job introducing us to the land of Amphoreus and properly explains the internal and external troubles the world is facing. Once again, without getting into spoilers, we get a sufficient enough deep dive into the main antagonist of this chapter that we get an inkling of that there's more to Amphoreus' troubles than what we currently know. That, to me, is the hallmark of a story with great potential. Whether or not that potential is realized remains to be seen. So overall, I'm looking forward to what 3.1 can deliver to us. There's still problems with the storytelling, and because of the problems are exacerbated by the gameplay this time, The small improvements they made are completely overshadowed by puzzles and black screens. A swing and a miss. I wouldn't be surprised if people call it quits with Amphoreus, and quite frankly, I don't blame them, because this is still rough. There's a lot of lore to chew through and theories to be made, so expect some videos about Amphoreus soon. Thanks for watching. I'm on my way to 300 subscribers, so if you liked the video, consider subscribing. Later.